Hello, this is Roman Gabriel, and you are listening to The Grueling Truth.
Welcome to the Grueling Truths NFL Legend Show, brought to you by Gridiron Mo, an interactive football app where you get to call what you think the offense or defense should do during a live NFL game and see what all other fans have called also. Check out Gridiron Mo at www.gridironmo.com. As always, for the Legend Show, I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and today's guest played in the NFL, I believe, about 8 years for the Packers, Broncos, Browns, Chargers, that he played in the WFL also. Help me welcome to the show, quarterback Don Horn.
Thank you, Mike. Glad to be here.
Oh, great to have you on. We'll just start from the beginning. When did you first start playing football?
Oh gosh, I mean, I started playing football as a kid. I grew up in L.A., Southern California, and God, I wish I had a excuse me, my allergies are bothering me. Wish I had $1 for every time somebody told me, you're too fat, you're too slow, you never make it, and stuff like that, or whatever. But I was about 11 years old, and I decided my goal in life, I wanted to play. I'd like to take a shot at playing professional football, and worked my tail off, and finally achieved the goal. So.
All right, so then you go on to high school. You want to tell us a little bit about your high school career, maybe some early influences you had?
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah, everybody remembers and loves their high school coach. He was a great inspiration for me. And then, I played in L.A. It was pretty competitive league, and I actually grew up with a kid named Doc Ellis who pitched for years in the major leagues. Okay. And I used to catch Doc or whatever. I always told Doc he should have been a wide receiver, but he signed with the Pittsburgh Pirates right out of high school. So, and then I went on to Washington State. Played up there for about a year and a half. Played spring ball up there, and they fired the head coach, brought a new coach in. He wanted me to be a third pulling guard, take the snap, pitch it to the tailback, and then, along with the two guards, lead the sweep. Yeah. And an old running back named Keith Lincoln was up there, and he was up there, watching spring ball one year, and he says, Don, he says, you got some talent, you got some potential, you got to get out of here and go down there where they throw the ball. And that's the first time I heard Coach Don Coryell's name. So anyway, ended up transferring to San Diego State. Played with the great Air Coryell, Don Coryell. Never had so much fun in my life. You want
to talk a little bit about Coach Coryell, and also on that staff, I think you had Joe Gibbs, who I read was your roommate.
Right. Yeah, Joe and I, and another guy named Gary Garrison, and a guy named Jeff Staggs, who played for a few years too with the Chargers. We were four of us, had a 2-bedroom apartment. And after about 2 months, Coach John Madden was the DNC coordinator. He insisted that Joe move out because Joe was no longer a player. He was a graduate assistant coach, and he didn't want players and coaches living together. So Joe eventually moved out, and there were 3 of us. And I got the bedroom by myself, which was nice.
Yeah, and I think we had Fred Dreyer on the other day who talked about San Diego State a little bit. And, I mean, it's just amazing. To the school, I mean, it wasn't Division 1A. I think it was considered, 1AA. But with the coaching staff they had, I think Ernie Zampese was also on the staff. And the fact that when I read, I think Coach Coryell was there like 7 or 8 years and lost a total of 5 games the entire time he was there.
Yeah.
What was your relationship like with Coach Coryell?
Oh, he was like a father. He was like a big brother and a father to me. I mean, the whole staff was fantastic. And I never had so much fun in my life playing football for Coach Coryell. Just an amazing man. In fact, years ago, you remember back around the year 2000, the greatest show on turf?
Yeah.
With the St. Louis Rams and Kurt Warner, and, the 3-step drop, 5-step drop, boom, 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 hitting the ball, quick, just real quick type of a game plan, hit the receivers going upfield, et cetera, et cetera. I'm watching them play, over the course of a year or two, and I always, I live here in Colorado, and I was telling a lot of my old Bronco teammates, I said, wait a minute. I said, that's the same offense that we ran at San Diego State. And, of course, most of the old players go, yeah, you're just saying that, blah, blah, blah. And then a year or two later, there was a big article in the Sunday sports section, Mike Martz, et cetera, and they were asking him basically, they said, where'd you get your ideas for that wide open, quick quick offense, the greatest show on turf, and that type of thing. And he says, I got it sitting in the Aztec Bowl at San Diego State back in the mid-'60s watching Don Coryell's, great football teams. So I'm going, there it is. There's the proof right there. That's the same offense we ran at Coryell ran, 30, 40 years ago.
Yeah, and I think at the same time, one of your main wide receivers was Haven Moses, who ended up having a great career with the Broncos.
Yeah, Haven's right here. In fact, I just talked to Haven the other day, and his wife, Joyce, was one of our cheerleaders at San Diego State.
Haven's all right, now I sent Haven a message to be on the show, and he keeps ignoring me, so you got to hook that up.
I'll see what I can do. I might see him Thursday night. We have a big function out here. They're honoring. We have a little thing out here. They're doing something, and they're honoring Wade Phillips, who's an old friend. The great DVC coordinator for the Broncos here. A lot of the old Denver Broncos will be there honoring him, and I hope Coach Haven will be there along with some of the other coaches, for the Denver Broncos and the company I'm representing right now, Premier Stem Cell Institute, is one of the sponsors for it. So got to give them a plug too.
Oh, well, plug away. You got a website for them or anything?
Yeah, it's premierstemcellinstitute.com.
All right, we get to the end of the show. I'm asking you what you do today. You can repeat that and tell everybody a little bit more about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
So we'll go to after your college career. You get drafted by the defending world champion Green Bay Packers in the first round. You want to tell us a little bit about your draft day? And was it Coach Lombardi that called you?
It's funny, Mike. It's totally different now than what it was, back then. I was sitting in the PR department, a little 10-by-10 room at San Diego State, and I had talked to quite a few scouts and coaches from some of the teams around the league, and they all told me they were going to, if I was available, they were going to pick me in the first round. And I'm sitting there listening to the radio. I mean, it's going on the radio. And we're listening, and all these teams that said they were going to pick me chose someone else. And I'm going, suddenly you realize, maybe their word is not what they, you start having doubts. And anyway, right towards the end of the first round, the phone rings. And the lady says, is this Don Horn? I said, yes, it is. She said, this is Carol so-and-so. Please hold for Coach Vince Lombardi. And I thought somebody was jerking my chain, right, Mike? I mean, and all of a sudden you hear this rough voice come on now. Don, and he says, I believe he said, paraphrase, he said, I believe Kansas City. He says, Kansas City's picking right now. And he says, we're considering making you our number one draft choice, when we pick here in a few minutes. And then he asked me a couple questions and whatever. And then, it sounded like him. I figured out somebody's really jerking my chain. 20 minutes later, the phone rang back, and he says, Don, this is Coach Vince Lombardi. You're now Green Bay Packer, that kind of thing. When can you get back here? I just went through the scene. Never talked to Green Bay. I guess back then they had a consortium of scouts, et cetera.
Yeah, it was the Blesso service, wasn't it?
Yeah, the Blesso service was one of them, yeah. And they would trade information and stuff. And so, anyway, that's how I ended up going to Green Bay. A lot of people in the circles over the years, they say as far as my professional career went, because I wasn't fast to fleet, but I had quick feet and quick delivery, and I loved to throw the ball, wide open type of an offense. And they said, for me, playing with a guy named, Coach Coryell, wide open type of an offense, going to Green Bay, the frozen tundra and 3 yards in a cloud of dust and a very predictable type of an offense, that was the worst thing that happened in my career. But looking back, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, I've seen the Ice Bowl film before. I think you're standing there next to Vince Lombardi during the Ice Bowl. Talk a little bit of what it was like to be with that Packer team and Coach Lombardi.
It was fan. You can't describe it. In fact, I was the first one to jump on Vince and congratulate him when Bart snuck it over. But it's funny that whole week, I was there with Zeke Bartkowski. We were the other two quarterbacks, and three out of. Back then we called our own plays, we were so regimented on our play calling Coach Lombardi was. I'd say we could be standing on the sidelines, and Zeke and I, three out of 5 times we could call the same play that Bart was going to call. That's how regimented we were. And we knew what he was going to call that play. I mean, all week, Coach Lombardi said, if you need 1 yard or less, we do the double team over Jethro Pugh. You don't go through Bob Lilly. He gets too low. You can't move him back. But Jethro had those long legs, and he thought we could push him back for at least a yard anytime we needed it. So, we knew it was going to be a 31 wedge. But the key factor in the surprise was Bart kept it himself and took it over as a quarterback sneak rather than give it to Chuck Messine, the fullback, who was designed to carry the ball. So, but yeah, playing for Coach Lombardi was it's just hard to describe. Back in those days, he would motivate you totally opposite what every motivational speaker in that era would recommend. What I mean by that is he would take you in private and build you up, compliment you, tell you things that would just make you beam from ear to ear. And then 10 minutes later, he'd take you out in front of the whole team, 200 or 300 people, spectators that are watching practice, and just totally undress you. And you wait a minute, I'm the same guy you just told me, but he would address you in front of all your peers. And he did it to everybody. I mean, he just treated everybody that way. All right. It was. Go ahead.
Yep. Sorry about that. I've got allergies too. Almost. I was trying to stop it. That's the only thing I did. But hey, talk a little bit about 1968. I know you were in the Army. You weren't active until the last game when you came in and played for an injured Zeke Bradkowski. Want to talk a little bit about that game?
Yeah. In fact, that's one of my favorite. I mean, it's funny. I was in the reserves back in the Nam era, and I was supposed to go to my basic and AIT training in the off season, and one thing led to another. And so the week before the first game, the preseason game, I think it was an all-star game, I have to report to active duty. So I spend pretty much 4.5, 5 months, Fort Sill, Fort Campbell. And I get out right around the first part of December, I think. I get out of the Army, and I go up and practice with the team for a couple of weeks. And, and I'm like, there's another quarterback up there named Billy Stevens. At that time, it was Texas El Paso. He's a great guy. He could throw the heck out of the ball, just throw bazookas. And so I go up there and practice, and then right before that game against the Bears at Wrigley Field, that Saturday night in Milwaukee, I have a reserve meeting, and so the team goes down Saturday. I go to reserve meeting Saturday night in Milwaukee, get out about 11:30 from the reserve meeting in Milwaukee. I drive to Chicago, check in the Drake Hotel about 2:30 in the morning, get up the next morning, and I meet Coach Lombardi. He's the GM then, but he's still coaching. I mean, all practical purpose. He was general manager, but he was still, calling all the shots. So I run into Coach Lombardi in the hallway going to breakfast, and he always called me Donald. He said, Donald, what time did you get in last night, son? And I said, I told him 2 o'clock, not 2:30. But and he said something like, he made some kind of a remark, well, did you bring your uniform? And I said, no, sir. And he said, well, I'm thinking about suiting you up today, or whatever. And I thought he was joking. So we go to a meeting after breakfast, and he says he deactivates Bart. He's got broken ribs. He activates me. I'm the third-string quarterback then. It's a great day for me. I can't believe it and stuff. Anyway, so we go out to Wrigley Field, and it's a big game for the Bears. If they win, they go to the playoffs. They have to win that game. Into the first quarter, they carry, Zeke comes off the field. He's hurt. All of a sudden, Vince is upstairs, but he's calling all the shots. The coaches turn to me on the sidelines, and they go, Horn, get in there. And I could not believe that they sent me into that game, And I think the first series I lost 7 yards. The next series I just said, oh, hell, just let her go. And I remember I called 2 plays that game. One of them, I still remember the play, and I threw a touchdown. I think it was a 50-some-yard touchdown pass to Jim Grabowski. When I called the play, Boyd say, he'd say, that won't work. That's not going to work now. And I said, it's the only thing I can remember, you know. So I called the play, threw a 59-yard touchdown pass to Robowski. Later on,